officially started.
Alright. Just gotta find the agenda. Where did I put it? I mean, I have it. It's in the email. I apologize. I have it right here. Okay. Wait. Oh, thank you. That's fine. Usually Alright, so we have the minutes from the 23rd. Bob didn't send those out yet, so we'll have to skip those for today. We're not approving them anyway. So the next would be public speak. Is there anything in general you want to introduce yourself and to the committee? And
Yeah, I mean, my name is David Jaffe. I've been a resident of Easthampton since 2006. I'm just sort of interested in, as I was saying to you earlier, what this committee does, how they're potentially addressing climate change and renewable resources, and just to kind of get a sense of what's happening in town on these issues.
Right. Yeah. So I'm Stephen Judd. I'm the chair of the committee. I've been around. We reformed the committee about a year ago now. It's actually our 1-year anniversary, I think, because we formed it in May last year.
It was April.
Was it? Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Either way, it's been over a year now. We've been back, and we also were the second revival of the committee back in like 2012 to 2014-ish. It was originally set up in 2010 for the Green Communities Act. You had to have an energy advisory, you had some form of an energy advisory committee to be a green community. So we'd done that to be a green community to get eligible for grants. So the original grants were like the streetlights was a good example. Mayor Totten got a lot of the main streetlights replaced with LEDs through grants as a green community. As part of the green community, we're supposed to reduce our greenhouse emissions by 20% of citywide. Over how many years was it?
Well, originally 5.
Yeah, originally.
You're just supposed to reduce by 20%. There's no timeline required by it.
Because basically every community is having a hard time doing the 20%. For us, our big problem is we've hit all the low-hanging fruit, like the street lights and a thing here, a thing there. But our big thing has been White Brook Middle School. It consumes 33% of our entire city's energy, that one building. Due to the heat loss and just the inefficiencies of it. So that's why I'm just recently passing the new school building initiative is actually going to be a big driver to our reduction of greenhouse gases, because we're shutting down 4 buildings that are the 4 worst probably energy consumers in the town as far as city buildings. They're all going to be shut down, or at least pulled off city rolls. So then maybe, but at least they won't be used like they are now. White Brook definitely will be, because it's going to be leveled to the ground. So that's a 33% reduction right now. And of course we gain back consumption with the new building, but it's going to be with the newest LEED certified silver, I think we're going for, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to have all new systems, LEDs, much more efficient heating and cooling. Even though the building's 3 times more students than the existing White Brook, it'll use less natural gas than the current White Brook. But actually heat and cool the whole building efficiently. So it'll be a big help to our city as far as the greenhouse. But the way the Green Communities Act accounts for emissions, it's not a 1-for-1 exchange, so it may not show up as a 20% reduction or a full reduction of what our, I don't know, how does that work, Marion?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of key factors, like the center's oil will come off, and that definitely has a pretty huge effect when it comes to MMBTU overall for the city, so that'll be a savings there. Electricity will be reduced, and then natural gas will be reduced just between those 4 buildings into the one. So
even electricity will go down, even though we're going to add air conditioning to the new one?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, from the 4 buildings in total, yeah. Yeah, so the savings will be there. It's definitely not going to be, it's not going to be a huge, but there's some key pieces. So some of the heating costs that right now we pay at the other buildings are definitely much more inefficient and much higher overall MMBTU. So those will go away.
So yeah, just, I don't know if you've read the section of the charter that our committee was established, but I have it actually in the letter I sent to the city council. It was, the Energy Advisory Committee shall advise and assist the city and its agencies and agents in developing priorities and programs focused on cost-effective energy use, energy conservation, and renewable energy generation. And then the EAC may review and make energy-related recommendations about policies, procedures, activities, and facilities under the control of any city department, and may provide information, guidance, and assistance to any city agency in matters relating to energy conservation and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's kind of what our goal is as a committee.
And then I think the other piece that I would just add in there is obviously with Jamie and Jeff at the city planning, they're doing a lot around when you asked about climate change in specific. So they're doing a lot. Yeah, so the MVP and yeah, so there's a lot of things that they're doing already on their own, but that's another place where and why we're starting to work more closely with Jamie on the committee too, to be able to have that crossover a little bit more direct with all the work that the city planning department is doing. So.
Plus, we have some more expertise in the energy area in our group. Like Marion, he works in the solar or Hampshire Council of Governments. You were in the solar energy, renewable energy spectrum. Bob Parent, who's the other committee member, he's a city engineer right now for Holyoke. Used to be of East Longmeadow city engineer. He has a background in engineering
and wastewater
treatment and stuff. And then myself, I have an electrical engineering degree, and I work for ISO New England Power. Grid operator for all of the New England states, so I'm heavily involved in the energy industry myself. So we have that kind of energy expertise, so if any department that has a question about something related to energy, at least now they have somewhere to go to ask to get some additional advice. One big thing that we've had in the past year is our solar contracts, because we purchased solar from 2 commercial facilities as a town. We had some issues with contracts and stuff that it's a very complicated market on net metering and solar renewable energy credits and how all that works, and previous administrations didn't quite fully understand it. We'll just put it that way.
They brought some things to us and not everything.
Yeah. So it's just a place where we can, at least they can have a sounding board and stuff, is the way I view the committee.
Yeah.
So is it hard, I mean, do you guys look for somebody with that sort of realm of expertise to be on the committee?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we've had people consider coming on that might have had more of a tech angle because they want to help sort of get the message of what we're working on out through Facebook or posts and things like that. So that's somebody with those kind of skills is definitely somebody that we think that, because one of the things that we don't want to just do something on our own and and not, there's been times we've looked at some of the different community campaigns to get people more knowledgeable and more involved in energy savings for themselves, even though it's not directly what we're working on. And just because of the busyness and the fewness of our committee members, we haven't necessarily had the time or effort to be able to put into those realms. So someone who's looking to be more outreach oriented or social media savvy is another skill set that we would love to bring to our team. So that doesn't necessarily have to be energy related. And even beyond that, there's other stuff that, people who just want to learn this stuff and get involved with this stuff and be one more person looking through whatever we have to research or understand is definitely appreciated and wanted.
We're not pouring through dissertations or technical spec documents or stuff like that. I mean, the example is the Facebook account. I set it up in December, and I started to try to, whenever Eversource did like a mass save program where they were going to give 10 LED lights for $5, you just had to sign up for it. I tried to forward that link through the Energy Advisory Committee, and if everybody in the town was connected to it, they would just show it up on their Facebook feed, and they could go buy their lights for cheap because we're all paying for it anyway through our electric bills.
Right, I just had an energy audit done.
Yeah, same thing. Last fall we did an energy audit with the mayor and Marin and myself, and we posted those videos on. I was interviewed by the mayor at one of her weekly updates back in the fall. I think it was in September or something. About that, and we had some video from her energy audits posted along with her weekly video that she did. So that's some of the kind of things that they're doing. And so that's one thing where it'd be nice to have another person to do just outreach, and you don't even have to have an energy background for that. It's just basically somebody that can take some time every once a week or something. For me, I have 2 small children and the 3rd one on the way and a full-time job, so sometimes it gets a little hectic in my life.
Yeah. But even just someone who's interested too, and
Yeah.
interested in learning more and wants to know more about this kind of stuff, I think there's room for just more people on the committee and more people to be engaged.
I mean, if you're curious, my background is a clinical social worker by training.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm sort of prematurely retired. But social media is not something that I'm not into at all. So,
Yeah.
not that, but I mean, I'm very computer savvy, so I mean, I'm sure.
Well, so a computer thing, so we have across the town probably 20 Eversource accounts, because each meter has a different account, and each one has its own bill that gets sent to a different department. Now they're all finally going to the DPW, I think, now as a central location. But it'd be nice to, when I was talking about the solar contracts, to track on a monthly basis how many kilowatt hours we're consuming and how many kilowatt hours each of our solar plants is producing, that we're obligated to net meter our consumption with them on a monthly basis, and to make sure that are we trending to where our obligations for SRECs may be more than what we even consume. Certain things like that. And Eversource, I believe, has a way for a business to accumulate all your accounts, not make them all to one bill, but at least accumulate them all to one online account, and then aggregate all the data so we can at least see the kilowatt hour usage from 20 accounts as one account online. And just having somebody work with Eversource to get that set up would be nice, and then to start tracking that information, because I could see, like on the social media thing, getting a Facebook, I mean, posting to Facebook is very easy. I could show you that. It's not hard at all. It's just getting the time to do it. And I think it'd be cool for the committee on a monthly basis to say, hey, our solar facilities produced X kilowatt hours of solar energy, and we consumed X kilowatt hours, so we were 90% solar this month as a town. And just kind of put out statistics like that to say, hey, our town's powered 90% by solar on average, or 60%, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if we had that task that Stephen was mentioning about being able to pull all that stuff, all the data into one place, it's very easy for either that person or myself or somebody else on the team to review the numbers and make sure it all lines up and be able to make that kind of a statement.
Yeah.
So
we just keep it on an internal Google spreadsheet between us as a committee. We just put it on there every month and double check it, and because then it also helps with green communities reporting that Marin works on at the end of the year and helps with, so we can, that's a double check. If we have issues with the solar contracts, because we're obligated to buy so many kilowatt hours from these solar facilities, and all of a sudden our energy use is starting to trend down, which is what we're supposed to do by conserving, but it's actually a catch-22 the way the laws, our contracts are set up. We have to consume a minimum amount of electricity because we have to purchase it from the solar companies that we have contracts with, so we can't reduce our electric usage too much, because then we'd be default in contract. It's ironic.
Yeah, that's one word for it.
Yeah, but it's...
Well, and the other piece there too is, another track. But yeah, so there's definitely stuff that's not, you don't have to be an engineer to join the team, I think, is basically what this all boils down to. There's definitely things, different skill sets and different tasks that have been on our sort of wish list that we just have never gotten to, just because of being a 3-person team and and all of us having busy lives.
Yeah.
So, does that give you a good overview?
I appreciate that.
Okay. So as far as I guess the next thing I had on the agenda was just kind of ongoing communication with the planning department. So I don't know if you had an update or.
So we got the MOU to PVPC.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that starts, I want to say July 1st. Is that the...
I saw the email, but I didn't see anything past that.
I assume it was July 1st. It might have started as soon as we signed the agreement. But there were the 4 categories PVPC was going to help us with: the green communities, procurement activities, clean energy, non-green community, clean energy project management, and clean energy planning were the 4 activities. And so it's sort of
Now we're just waiting for the state to cut the check and start doing the.
Yeah,
Well, it's already in process, so like I know Jeff has already reached out to me to try to, and I guess I've been waiting for him to respond to me, but
Right.
we're going to meet with PVPC to sort of do a reflection on where we have come in terms
Right.
of green community in order to then start to look forward.
Right, and so part of that ties into an update. We're trying to update the master plan chapter by chapter, as opposed to doing one large update.
Mhm.
So as we've been applying for grants to the state, we've been including language that also has our consultants provide some of that grant time to update the master plan.
Oh.
So the MVP grant that we got, you were at the listening session, Marion was at the workshop, so I don't know if you were there for
Mhm.
either of them, but as part of that grant that we applied for, there was that chapter to try to update the energy chapter of the master plan. And so that's actually the meeting that between Catherine that Jeff's trying to set up, is to satisfy that. So it wouldn't actually be coming out of the hours for the MOU that we just
Oh, okay.
but that will then feed into the master plan and will also feed into presumably future work that PVPC does with us with that for your MOU or the committee needs.
So do you happen to know, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like he emailed me a bunch of stuff, I emailed him back and then I've had silence from him for, I don't know if it's been a week or 2 weeks, but it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, I was copied in those emails and I didn't, because I was just copied in, I didn't reply.
Okay.
I know that it's been a crazy week and 2 weeks in planning department, so
Okay.
I know that he's trying to get that meeting set up. I think it's on his radar, and
Okay.
I'll nudge him tomorrow about it.
Okay. Yeah, just, my schedule is openish now, but then it's likely, because it's likely to get busy. So.
Okay. I will remind him tomorrow. Sometimes things get onto the second page of the email
And then submitted the letter to the mayor and the city council about the PACE funding, and I never got a response. It was crickets when I sent it out, so I don't even know whatever happened to that, or if I should follow up, or what. I'm not sure what the next step is on that.
Do you want to reach back out to Thomas and Owen to see if they are taking this to city council to keep moving it forward?
Okay, I guess I'll reply to them, because I didn't know if it goes through the mayor because we report to her and she brings it up to the city council.
Doesn't have to. Anybody in the city council can bring this up at this point, I think, because what they're going to do at the city council is they're just going to bring it up and then send it straight to a subcommittee.
Okay.
So it just needs to be whether or not they're bringing it up
Okay.
to move forward.
So I'll go that route, because Owen and Thomas were copied on it. So
yeah, because they were on the phone call.
yeah, so I'll reply back to them and say, I'll offer, is there anything else you need me to do? Phrase it like that.
Well, and they may have already done those steps.
I haven't checked. Yeah, I haven't checked the.
Might just be to ask if they're doing if it's coming up on a meeting. Here's the way we can do it: is you say, if it's coming up with if you're putting this in a subcommittee and you want any of us to attend, please let us know when we can attend.
Okay.
And that way, then it's like, oh yeah, we've already scheduled it, or oh, thanks for the reminder, we should move this forward.
Yeah. Okay.
But that way they'll.
Okay. So I'll follow up on that. I think anything else.
Okay, but was there anything else? Because so in terms of the grant money, I saw that there was a response back from with some more questions around the DPW projects, but it seems like those got answered.
Yes. So that was for the
Energy efficiency measures, right, and green community.
yes, for the electric vehicle charging station.
Was it a boiler, I thought?
Well,
There's,
it's 3 different. Yeah. So
it was one grant with 3 components.
well, Well, no, there's for the green community, yes, it has 3 grant pieces within that one grant, but then with the EV charger there, that's within that grant, but then there's also 2 other grants that were put forward as well, that also funding pieces of the EV stuff.
One from Eversource and one
from the state
Volkswagen
program. Yeah,
the Dieselgate thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but none of those have been approved yet.
Right, so that's the only thing we got was that clarification about how much the city can request
Okay.
for the, I think it was for the boiler, and nothing else with that. I did have a conversation at one point with Jeff about the MOU, the PVPC, and his comment was that that he feels like we're at a loss for like projects and where to go, like planning for future of this committee or green communities, or and so that did tie into one of the MOUs, the number 4, which was clean energy planning. And so if we want to start to pursue that, that might help. But I don't know, I haven't been, it's only the second meeting here, so I don't know really what discussions have happened with.
This is our lap.
Well, none of that's happened here because we wouldn't. So I get, yeah, this is a chicken and egg kind of thing, I guess, in my mind is, you know, if we're looking for ways to apply for grants to get this, you know, if we wanted to look out, start planning for like next February's Green Communities grant, right? You know, would we look through the energy numbers and the model to see, well, maybe we should try to save energy in these particular buildings? Or is it that the department say, hey, we've got this project, or we've got, you know, these lights have been here for 20 years and we could be replacing them, or, you know. So we've never reached out or had meetings with department heads, you know, or facility managers or things like that. It would be great to have that kind of sort of coordination of some sort of piece in that pulling all together.
Yeah,
so
it was a little bit of luck that the electric vehicle charging, the 3 grants came together around the same time, and that.
Well, Jeff and I have been talking about those for almost a year now. So those were on a lot of people's radars about how we were going to do these different things. So that those I would, the DPW's building project definitely got thrown in there last minute, but no, I don't feel like there was any luck in terms of that. I feel like that was definitely a planned.
Okay.
No, I'm not taking offense there, but I just mean I do think there was some planning that went into leading towards those 3 grants. But I do think overall there has not been a whole lot of reflection on what would be next or what would make sense to do. So
it seems like that could be the clean energy planning part with PVPC.
Right.
First look where we've been, where we're going, and then the other piece that we talked about last month was the municipal energy data analysis and evaluation. That could go under the Eversource stuff. I'm just trying to get a hold of all our data and have PVPC help set up all the tracking for it. Could
possibly, I mean, I guess in my mind, one of the there's so many different moving parts, because I know that like the mayor's office has requested a review of potential capital improvements, right? So there's that piece. There's like, what kind of capital improvements do we want to have? What might we see within our energy modeling about what we, you know, want to look at? Obviously, the upcoming school changes, so that's a huge factor there between, you know, obviously what's happening at Whitebrook, but also even if, you know, coming out of the current meetings, I don't think you've had the meeting yet that's going to be talking about the reusing the schools. That's in June, right? So that could play into it, like if one of the buildings is going to be kept on city, property as a city building, then maybe that would be where we would want to invest a little bit more energy, energy efficiency being put into, for instance, I know that Payson is discussed, whether or not we want to keep Payson and make it a community center and all those different things. So, if that comes out of that meeting where we're headed, that would play into a factor of what we were looking at for capital improvements. Maybe we want to do some energy efficiency work in Payson, or I don't know if another one that hasn't been looked at recently that has the potential is like the highway garage. I know they use a lot of, I think they heat with a lot of waste fuel, which that may, that's not necessarily the cleanest thing to do. It's something to do with your waste fuel, but it's still not necessarily clean. So those are all different pieces that I know that we could potentially be looking at. But it seems like they would be wanting to sort of bring in some of the different right people to have that meeting, as opposed to us sort of saying, well, this is what we think we should do for our next Green Communities grant. It seems like there's enough different moving parts within the city that we would need to be, either we attend some specific meeting that's going to be talking about capital improvements or energy efficiency, clean energy improvements that we want to look at within the city, and have those other key players there, and then we can talk about it all together, or even get something ready for a meeting like that if we wanted to bring some of the energy modeling in there or something like that. But that seems more, in my mind, that's more like city planning, that we can help and participate in that, but not necessarily that this group would facilitate that.
Take the lead on it.
Unless you guys want us to somehow, but that's not really hasn't been our role, or definitely our authority up to this point. So
right, and I think that we've been dealing with so many other bits and pieces. We haven't been able to take on that planning process, which is why I think that Jeff maybe suggested looking at the MOU with PVPC for the green energy planning. So that way, it's not the energy committee
or the planning
or the planning department, but it's some, we have, I think it was $3,000. So
yeah. Well, and you could even say that $3,000 in the energy data and analysis could be part of that too.
Right.
Because you got to know what you have before you can do the plan. So you can almost say you have $6,000, depending.
Right. I mean, and then we have Green Community Grant Application Prep for $1,500 as well.
Yeah. But we can't use all of
max out
that.
at 4.
Right.
So we can use
3 and
3 and 1, or
so
1,500.
Clean energy planning, whether or not it gets billed to clean energy planning, or is it grant application and municipal data collection, or how PVPC bills it, or how we ask them to build it. Like, I think we have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
My only concern, I guess, is certainly we could put it to PVPC and say, hey, help organize us on this. But it also just seems like enough of the players are all right here. We just need to get together and sit down and have enough pieces of information going into that conversation, and then have that conversation. And maybe it makes sense to use up some of the 3,000 to just ask PVPC to facilitate it and organize it. But maybe that's also using grant money that could go to something else. Maybe it could go to this, that they could then help the second stage, because the first is just going to be a facilitated conversation, right? And then out of that, we're going to need to do some numbers crunching and do some research of whatever we decide is the right project, or the right top 2 or 3 projects that we're going to try. Then we would need to do some research on them, get some consultants in to actually do, energy analysis of buildings or what have you off of those things. And then it seems like we would need a sort of second round of meetings after that. So
I think it'd be very valuable to have a kickoff meeting facilitated by PVPC, just to kind of get everybody in one room and kind of start hash out create a roadmap or an outline of what needs to be done, and then assign tasks to it or stuff like that. It sounds like
I mean,
And it sounds like you were already trying, that sounds kind of like what the meeting that Jeff was trying to set up with you and Catherine. Or
No, that's different. So, but I can use that as an opportunity to sit down with, have Jeff and Catherine in the same room and say, okay, this is another conversation that we want you guys, because there is a timeline for us to be ready for next year's Green Community Grant.
Yeah.
So let's sort of build that. Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Like starting to plan now is probably already too late.
Okay, well, why don't I do this then? I can write up a little bit of this idea and send it to Catherine and to Jeff and yourself, and sort of see if we can't move that forward. And, I'll CC you on it, and does that sound like a good
I think so. Yeah.
step out of this?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And I'll nudge Jeff again about that meeting. So that way, or that email will nudge Jeff again.
Okay. I can get to that. That's no problem.
Okay.
Okay. So the only other thing was the update on the pace. I kind of gave a quick update on that. So I'll follow up with Owen and Thomas about see where it stands with the city council. Getting that moved forward, so hopefully we'll have an ordinance in place by the time, because the program's not active yet at the state level, but they're trying to get towns to get signed up for it, so when it does go active, hopefully this fall, there will already be a set of towns that can start applying. So one thought we thought advantage is if we have this available, Ferry One project would actually be able to use this funding if they want to. I don't know if you're familiar with PACE, what it does. Basically, you can finance a energy efficiency upgrade that's turns out to be a betterment on your property taxes and now at the bank. So it's a way to separate finance it, so where if you were to leave the project, the next person that buys the property picks up the payments going forward. So we had to have like the tax collector and stuff involved to make sure our systems would be able to do that, and they're going to look at it much more detail probably in the subcommittees of the city council, but from an energy standpoint it seemed like a no-brainer after we actually had the director of the program on a conference call for a while and we talked to her about it.
That's cool.
Does that overlap with sort of what the utilities do where they have the energy audit?
It's just another piece of the puzzle of what's available to a developer. The PACE program is not available to residential, it's only commercial.
It's only commercial.
It's only commercial. It was available residential
in Massachusetts.
in Massachusetts. It was available residentially in some other states. California was one of them.
It didn't actually, one was R PACE, one was C PACE.
Yeah.
And there was some, I guess the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is actually going after some nefarious stuff that was going on in California related to that program with the residential side. So I think that was one reason probably Mass stayed completely away from that. But yeah, so hopefully it doesn't really cost. The only burden I've seen from the city would be that they have to deal with it on the property tax assessments. It's just an additional thing to put on the property taxes for that one building.
Which is, and they give us the number though, so it's not like we have to calculate anything. They tell us what number to put on it, we put on it, and we send out the bill just like we send out the bill. So
yeah,
I think it's a no-brainer.
Seemed like a no-brainer. So let's move forward. That's all I have. Any other new or other business? Next meeting.
I guess, yeah, no, soon here I've got to try to sit down with the city staff again and help them start gathering the data I need for
green communities,
for green community reporting. So, but that I won't really need to do that till August. So.
Okay.
So.
And if there's anything that, I know you said you didn't really need PVPC to help with that, but if there was data that they,
No, the only thing that needs is staff upstairs need to get their shit together and not pull it together last second. I gave them months of advance notice last time and checked in with them a couple times and never got anything. So that was the problem. So it's I don't think having suddenly PVPC help with it is going to make any difference. It's just really comes down to, the mayor's office, her team getting me the big one honestly is the fleet, getting me updated information on all the fleet things that have come off, things that have come on within this fiscal year, and then fuel receipts for everything that we've purchased for whether it's gasoline or oil or propane for the different facilities around the city. Those are the two big things that the city has to gather, and it's really not a whole lot of work if someone's thinking about it. The problem is there's been constant turnover since I've done it, so there's
training somebody new every year.
Yeah. So Nikki did it for a few years under Karen, and that was really helpful. But other than that, it's never been smooth.
Okay.
So.
Well, if there's anything that we can do to help with that, then.
I think that, is it Tracy who's in the mayor's office? She's the one who finally did it last minute.
Okay.
And she's still up there as far as I know.
Yeah.
So hopefully going into this year, we'll.
Yeah.
There won't be a problem. We'll see if she continues in that role or what have you. So.
Okay.
But thank you. I'll let you know if there's anything that I need. I mean, there's a little bit I do need from the planning department, building inspector side of things. But and I guess the other thing that does bring to mind is the one other place that, and you'd expressed this interest in this in the past around the whole fleet improvement stuff, is that, and maybe this gets into the conversation about capital improvements and what we'd want to do with Green Communities money, is that if let's say everything happens the way we're hoping it right now, is that we're getting, multiple EV stations in here next year or this summer, into the fall. Maybe next year's Green Communities grant is trying to help green our fleet and start to put some money towards getting some EV cars within Easthampton. That seems a no-brainer of a next step there, unless there's some glaring building need. And I would have to look at what's even possible within the EV portion of the grant. But I know it wouldn't be 100%, so then it's also really a conversation with the mayor's office about what kind of money are they willing to try to put towards, which would then be putting into the fiscal budget of 2021 to then, be purchasing things in, 15 months from now, whether or not we could be trying to purchase some EV vehicles.
Right.
That would be, I think that's the other thing. So I'll throw that into my email too.
Yeah.
Because we can do some side math, we can find out what the cost of fuel is for that vehicle and show what is the total cost of ownership, as opposed to, because also, there's a lot less oil changes, there's less brakes, there's, the maintenance costs on the vehicles too go down with EVs because of just the...
Yeah. The problem is these, and this gets to a bigger conversation, and this is the one that I've really not wanted to have, is that everybody, police department, park and rec, DPW, they all have their reasons why they need the high consuming monster vehicles that they need to do their needs, and have never shown any, and there hasn't been leadership from the mayor's side either, that would want to really look at, well, do you really need to do that? How can we downsize it? How can we not get you a Suburban? How can we get you, something different? So that would take a bigger leadership task, pretty much at the mayor's level, to really start transforming that conversation. But maybe even just doing a little soft work on the EV would start to sort of give a little bit of feelers into how can we
There's starting to be more selection too, because even for example, Ford, I think they're coming out with a plug-in hybrid Escape and electric version of the Escape next year for the 2020 model. I saw an article somewhere. So
send me that article if you got it.
I'll look for it. I thought it was on InsideEVs.com. I'll have to look for it again.
Okay. Because we do have a number of Ford Escapes, and that's one of their favorite vehicles. So, like, would the police department be willing to go to have one, try an EV, instead? But the big consumers on the city side are ones that are generally not always kept at sort of maximum size and minimum.
And some of the vehicles you just can't replace. They don't have electric fire trucks, they don't have electric ambulances.
Yeah, no, obviously not those, but there are some that when I look at what our vehicles are really on our fleet, there's some stuff that I question in there. But that would.
And even having an engine that's fast enough to accelerate now, electrics they'll beat off any police interceptor engine anyway. So having a police car that has to be a V8, not really a thing anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Not that we buy all Teslas, but a Tesla could be any car off the line, Lamborghinis. So.
But no, I'll throw that into my email though about the EV fleet transportation conversation as a part of that.
I think that once the charging stations are in place,
that's always been an excuse too.
The argument has been like, well, now we can plug it in and charge it.
Yeah. Granted, most of them can be plugged into a 120 outlet in the buildings overnight, and it's not a problem. But
it's a difference. I mean,
there is definitely a difference.
Even you look at Northampton, right? I mean, the same thing's true, but they're able to plug in all of their parking enforcement cars are all EVs, and they plug them in the garage, and then they go from there. So that will help facilitate this conversation, I think. So cool.
So next meeting I have is June 25th. Are you okay with that, Karen?
I believe so.
I noticed we didn't do all of the streetlights. We said LED, did we?
No, we did a majority.
Okay.
There was, if I remember though, there was specific reasons why we didn't do the ones we didn't do.
Okay.
Not that, I'd have to go back to Mike to remember that and see if he even remembers it, but there was, I think they did the ones that could be done, or there was something, I don't remember why.
Okay.
Maybe some were just recently replaced and we didn't want to replace them again.
Yeah, I'm not sure why though.
I mean,
like the ones that by my house are certainly not LEDs.
And I the longest time I thought they were all done, and then I was biking around.
Any of them that are yellow or
they're all sodium.
Because like even the ones on Button Road where I live, they're not overhead, they're the posts.
Yeah.
And those are not LEDs by any means.
Right, but there's overhead ones on like Love Field, Torrey Street.
It seems like all the major thoroughfares we got LED converted, but some of the side streets may have not.
So I don't know if that's something that
maybe the neighborhoods we didn't want to. Because originally people always complained originally about LEDs being too bright, and same thing with having solar panels on the front of the house, but 10 years later, that's kind of changed.
Yeah.
Right.
I think sentiment part, because everything now is LED, so. And you could even get LEDs that aren't stark white anymore.
So. Right, you can change the colors and you can change the intensities.
Yeah.
Shielding.
So maybe that's something to look into.
Yeah, I'll put it on, I'll get a list starting now, so I'll throw those things out to it.
So June 25th, are you okay for that, Mary?
Yep, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and I will email Barbara about a conference room, because evidently we're not in B anymore. I don't know, we never were, who knows?
We can be in here, we don't need anything different, so.
Yeah.
But just to get us on the calendar, because we're obviously on some calendar, because I had to submit an agenda to her for the weekly agendas reminder, so.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah, so it's in the internal reservation system.
We have a lot of different calendars.
Okay.
So I think that the calendar that's on the website is not necessarily the one that Barbara uses to send out the meeting reminders, and then
because like at our work, I mean, we have Outlook, everybody has a calendar, and then you have conference rooms as people pretty much, and you have that too.
We have that, but we're slow, so we're just doing that. We were using Google Calendar and all these different, different things to make it work. So
I keep forgetting the difference between corporate world and city government sometimes.
Yeah.
Although we're quasi in between both. I mean, we just got off of.
Dude, what you guys send out though is like Greek to most people. Like,
well, yeah. But internally, like funding wise, we can't move as fast as some people.
No, like you guys, because I'm on your listservs, because we have a bunch of different components that go through the ISO, and you guys.
For which stuff?
I mean, we're a lead market
Oh, I guess we should adjourn the meeting. We'll
Yeah.
start the recording.
Okay, so adjourn the meeting.
Do you need to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.